Hello, everyone. This is Sharon Heller with Network in Action in Denver, and I'm here today with Nathan Urquhart. Hi, Nathan.
Hey Sharon, thanks for having me today.
Yeah, how's your morning going?
It's going well. I just looking forward to speaking with you, and well, I'm glad I'm inside today because it's a hot one out there.
It's a little hot and smoky.
Yes.
Good. Well, Nathan is with Roet Realty. And, one of the things I was thinking about, and I hate to get into the hard questions right at the start, but in Denver, especially, I feel like, every time I turn a corner, I meet a realtor, right? There's so many of you guys, and so needed also because there's a lot going on in your industry here. But share with us a little bit about maybe how you got into the industry and what somebody could expect maybe in terms of their experience if they decide to work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm always dealing with objection handling all the time, so that's a good start. And yeah, I mean, the real estate business is a very unique one that many people can have a license. You don't have to be a realtor to directly interact with the community just to simply have a real estate license in the state to buy and sell. Being a realtor is that next level that you are working with the public generally, and so yeah, you hit it spot on that you others probably know four or five people, and that's something that I'm always used to in this industry. So where I come from and where I try to be different and really just myself is I come from a long line of IT experience. I was in the data center, colocation, private cloud space in the high-end customer service relationship building space, and that's really where my passion is. I've been doing real estate investing and passive income strategies on the side for many years, and so what was once my side gig for a long time and truly the passion, I found myself doing all market research, both commercial and residential, where I spend my time. But as I just continued to dive into that space, Sharon, it was I just realized I had a lot to educate the community on, and so yeah, where I'm different is I really focus on the passive income strategies, as I mentioned, which includes like Airbnb or VRBO. You may have heard the word house hacking, and then based on this market and just the education piece that I absolutely love, it's all about educating and being that value added resource. And as long as you're doing that, consumers can make their own decisions, but that's where I always start.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm thinking about this passive income thing because people right now, especially with everything going on in our economy, people are looking into lots of different alternatives. Anything you can share about how that has changed during this period of time, or something that would be important for people to know, specific to things like Airbnb and
Yeah, and it's a pet passion of mine. I really do consider myself an Airbnb specialist, but even though I say that, it's not the it's not just the area that I focus on. The reason I say Airbnb specialist is because most of us are pretty familiar with standard leases, but then I look at midterm leases or executive rentals, which are furnished places that are longer than short term rentals, as well as the short term Airbnb market. The reason why you have to spend more time on the short term market is that's a very much fast changing, fast paced industry. We've all heard the stories about both good and bad within that space. And just like any app and a new model, there's a lot changing all the time. So working with local advocacy groups and sitting in on within the city of Denver Department of Excise and License and understanding where the rules regulations are going. That's kind of the bigger piece of where I kind of focus on. To specifically answer your question on what has changed, well, yeah, the short term rental industry, I mean, when travel stops, short term rentals for quite a while have stopped. But on the flip side, now that we're doing this in mid August, those are actually coming back faster than the hotel industry because people need to stay, with their family unit or other close people that they're generally sheltering with or kind of within their bubble, and so they're willing to travel in that way. And a lot of the Airbnb communities in the more suburban or even rural communities are seeing a spike over the urban communities, but that's also similar to kind of what we're seeing in the general real estate market. So my big comment, just like a stock portfolio, right? You have to have a lot of diversification, and
Mhm.
and that's kind of where I try to focus the passive income strategies. I try to be that specialist in one area in terms of where the rest of the market is not focused on. But while keeping in mind that for some people, these other options, and in myself included in my own investments, can be those traditional rentals. So it just gives you the flexibility to be able to pivot, especially when economics change, and we really haven't seen anything close to what this pandemic has done in our lifetimes. And so yeah, it's that ability to change course when needed, I really feel like is key. And that household in your house is just that one way to accomplish that.
Yeah, thank you. And it sounds like you're a great resource. If somebody needed somebody to talk to, pick their brain, in many of the areas that you just described.
Yeah, well, I made plenty of mistakes, but I also know I've made a lot of right decisions, and sitting in on these committees, and honestly, just being an Airbnb host myself. I mean, this is my home, my townhome. I'm in Central Park, formerly the Stapleton community of Denver, and this is a home I Airbnb when I'm not there. So I'm practicing what I'm preaching. And I got my check-in sheet and follow all these processes. I'm an Airbnb superhost, but through learning that, I I've learned a lot about the good and the bad, and even if it's just a simple education about what it looks like for a consumer to become an Airbnb host. I love that conversation, and honestly, Sharon, that's why I sit on some of those committees, because we all have to be good advocates to the community and good neighbors. And so, if I can do that, a customer doesn't have to be buying or selling a home for that. It's just about another passive income strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, good. And so, what about those folks that are looking to buy or sell a home? Can you talk a little bit about some of the trends that you're seeing and why it's a great time for somebody to reach out and talk to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it goes twofold. One, even if you're not buying or selling real estate, if you haven't refied your home loan, you should start there, and that's where we, have a team of people. It's not done through me or Roa Realty, but that's where we work with preferred lenders in the mortgage business, and local lenders that can give you a lot of leverage, both in the refinance and especially in this competitive market. And so, to address that question, in terms of what the market looks like. Well, here I'll try to give you a little example. So pre March COVID, we had all these buyers in the market, and we had all these sellers, right? And so way too many buyers, far too sellers. And do you know what actually happened in Denver? Once COVID hit, stay at home, we kind of went like this, but
Uh-huh.
the margins still stayed the same. And then once everything opened up, we had a lot of pent up demand, and we're still kind of in this, in that same arc again. And so what it's leading to is sellers have a ton of leverage right now. And so they're getting much more over asking price. Homes still have to be priced right. If a realtor or a seller has unrealistic expectations, you're still not going to get the price, and it's just going to lead to days on market. But right now, buyers are in a very difficult situation. They have to be pre-approved, they got to be ready to go, and you really have to have a professional to know how to structure both the negotiation part of it, but also all the other contractual pieces, the inspection, the appraisal, and just all these other due diligence documents that we go through, to give you as much leverage as possible. And really, that's about being educated and coming to the table early. And as I keep saying, I mean, even buyers that are educated here, I say, let's go get pre-approved. It's now never been more important to get that done.
Uh-huh.
Because if you find a place today and you need to get pre-approved over the weekend, that place is not on the market generally on Monday.
Uh-huh. Got to be ready to move fast.
You got to be ready to move fast, and that is not a salesy type of tactic. That is how the market is right now. And if you talk to any of your 5 realtor connections, they will say the exact same thing.
All right, good to know. Any other takeaways that you want to share before we finish up today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and are we talking customers, or are we just talking about just general business items?
Whatever you think is the most important for people to hear.
Okay. Well, there's um, the big thing with working with a local realtor is making sure they understand truly the local market. If that's on the buy or sell side, and it's not just the transaction itself that you're going to get a lot of additional information. It's just really understanding, the trends they've seen. But we're sitting on all these different lender calls, and really these lender calls are much more than that. They're really economic forecasting calls and trends and what Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and what the government's doing with policy and how recent policy changes can change to impact what that final number will be. And yes, we expect mortgage rates to stay really low, but and that's what gives buyers a lot of power in this seller heavy market. That's the one thing on the flip side of the equation that's giving buyers a lot of opportunity. But we understand from a real estate standpoint that buyers come to us with more information than they ever had. I mean, all the third party sites, the Zillows, the Redfins, and honestly, I partner with some of those sites in some cases, and they're working with the local community because they understand the philosophy of, the boots on the ground mentality. And so, what I would say to that is just make sure you're talking to a local expert. And even if you're looking at doing one of these iBuyer programs, the Zillow programs or something like that, talk to a local expert to really understand what that means, especially if you're in the buy and sell mode. And that's the only way we can give you a competitive offer, and then or get you into a competitive offer. And then the flip side is, because our inventory is so low, we have so many buyers that start to get a little bit frustrated. So you got to give yourself time. And for those that want to move into the new builds, this is another area where we've had to go to much more instead of the general retail market, just because the inventory is not out there. So again, even in that situation, make sure to use a local realtor that's going to represent you on the buy side. Otherwise, that seller developer, they're going to pocket that entire 6% commission, and you're not going to have any representation in that transaction. And so there's ways that we can even give back additional percentage if they're depending upon their commission structure. So just make sure in all cases you're represented. And honestly, you wouldn't go to court without a lawyer. Don't go to any real estate transaction without a professional sitting by your side and really, and advocating for you on your best interest.
Thank you. Super important takeaways. So, I suspect that there may be some folks out there who watch this video and want to reach out to you. What is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. If a realtor gives out his tax information, I would say that you can't go that direction anymore. That we got to focus on the technology piece. That's where we've changed a lot, and
Yeah.
and so yeah, don't go there. Anyway, all jokes aside, yeah, just my cell phone 303-818-9751. Call or text. Sharon, just like this type of discussion, I'm doing so many more of these Zoom calls, and even just pulling up a map and looking at just some needs versus wants, and some you can dive right into what they're looking for in a home, but honestly, it's so much more than that. And if you really get to know what is important in their strategy, then I can dive into my full toolkit, and then my greater network of people to assist you in getting the house that you want. And so, yeah, the earlier we have the conversation, the better. So, yeah, that phone number for call or text, and I can provide my website information as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Nathan. It was really great talking to you today. I hope you have a fantastic weekend and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for the
All
time,
right.
Sharon. Enjoyed
Bye
it.
bye.